When I got the Longmill CNC router, I got it to make larger projects. One of the things I realized that I had to do is make sure that I could get as much out of it as I could when it comes to carving those large projects. And that's what this video is about, is how to take advantage of the right bit, a 120-degree vbit in this case, at very high feed rates, to create such a cool carve like this lion head on a 24-inch by 24-inch project board. Hi, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I'd like to welcome you to this video. If you're someone who owns a CNC router or looking to get into CNC routing with an intention to make an income off of it, then you want to be aware of two things. Number one is, how do you take advantage of the size of your machine? And number two is, how do you maximize the throughput of it? In other words, make your cutting very efficient. How hard can you push your machine and still get good cuts? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Is I am going to take the Longmill 30x30 CNC router, which is a machine I absolutely endorse, and after this video, endorse it that much more. I'm going to couple it with the 120-degree vbit. And we are going to push this thing really hard. And wait till you hear what I have to say here in just a second. But why the 120-degree vbit? If you want to do larger projects and you want to cut them quickly, this is the bit to get for any of your Vcarves, because it covers a lot of space really fast and it hogs that material out very quickly. This is a bit that I sell on the IDC Woodcraft store. I call it the little stiffy. I had it designed so it could really move through material and still leave a decent finish. So what we're going to be doing is taking a 24-inch by 24-inch project, and we're going to carve it out. And that's what this lion is here. That is a 24-inch by 24-inch board. And this is the part that's going to blow you away. The Longmill, coupled with the 120-degree vbit, with the proper settings, carved this entire project out in 14 minutes. And I still wasn't as efficient as I could have been, as I found out a little bit later. I could have had it carved out in 10 minutes. But that's part of the learning curve. The whole thing is if you're looking to get into CNC routers or wanting to make some money with it, then you really want to make sure that your machine is capable of what it's going to be doing, of what you want it to do. You want to be able to take advantage of the full workspace of your machine, and you want to have the right bits that are going to get that efficiency out of the machine. So with that being said, we're just going to get started on this video. We're going to talk about this lion, the vectors a little bit, and then we're going to get into actually cutting this thing, and I'm going to give you a lot of little tips and tricks along the way. If you're brand new to CNC routers, you're going to get tips in this video too as to some of the stuff that will guide you into your CNC routing. And you want to subscribe, because I teach all the beginner stuff as well. Not just routers, but how to design your projects. All right, so let's get into this thing. Let's see what the 120-degree vbit, the Longmill 30x30 can do when you're cutting at 200 inches per minute. This sucker was cranking. Let's get going. What I am not going to do in this video, just so you know, I am not going to walk through the designing this thing up. This actually took a lot of work to get the vectors created and get them smoothed out and work with all the nodes. But I just want to show you where I originated this lion from. It came from a website called Vexels, V-E-X-E-L-S. And this is the site right here. And you can see this is the original lion that I had. It was actually not quite as easy as this one. I wish I knew this one existed. But it's a great site where you get some various PNGs. You have to purchase them, and you have to get the rights to do that. So I can't give you the G code to the lion, which I wanted to do originally. So anyway, this is it. You can see there's just some miscellaneous PNGs and SVG files that you can get. They've got all kinds of stuff. So you want to check out the Vexels website. I'll have a link down below for that. So that's where I got the lion from, and then I had to end up tracing the lion. So I'll show you the vector that I got. So there's the lion bitmap. Let's go ahead and click that bitmap and get it moved over so you can see that mine was a little bit different. All right, so we have to move this a little bit differently. There we go. Let's just drag it over to there. So you can see it wasn't quite as clean as the other image. This, where is it at? This one right here, that lion. It would have been much easier to work with that one, but I didn't know it existed. And I ended up going over to my Toolpath. So I'm going to show you how I set up the 120-degree vbit. So we're going to switch over to the Toolpath. And we're going to go into the line. Now I'm just going to, I did this in two toolpaths. I did the main with the 120 vbit as a Vcarve. So everything here is a Vcarve. And the facial features. And the only other thing was the outline of the face, which was a profile. So the majority of this is a Vcarve, which is obviously what we're doing. I did it with the 120, so we're going to go into the settings that I created, let it open up, and I have the 120 degree vbit selected here, so I just want to show you the tool library and how I've set this thing up. Just to let you know what you need to set this thing at if you are going to use it in a carve like this. I'll put the information down below in the description box, but your pass depth will be 0.125, your clearance pass step over, make it 50%, and your feed rate is 200 inches per minute. Your plunge rate is 40 inches per minute. Very aggressive, and it works great. And we just calculate that out, and that's how it goes. So then I just created the toolpath, which I'm not going to do in this video because I've done that in several videos, so I don't need to discuss it here. It's calculating at the moment, but that's what it's going to look like. So I've created the toolpath, so I'm going to go over to gSender, and we're going to import it there, and I'm going to show you a very cool tool in gSender, and then we're going to run this out on the machine. Alright, we are in the gSender software where we're going to install the Lion G-code that's going to run the CNC router. So just so you know, gSender is what they call control software. It actually is your interface with your CNC router, so you can tell your router what to do when you want it to do it. The nice thing about gSender itself, it is the most up-to-date control software that is out there. It is free to anyone who wants it. It is put out by Longmill. So the nice thing is it's optimized when you download it for the Longmill 30x30 CNC router. And that's actually one of the really cool things when it comes to something like gSender and the Longmill. gSender works with any Arduino-based CNC router. However, since Longmill has done all the work with the gSender, that gSender software is optimized for the Longmill CNC router. Basically what that means, if you're not that computer savvy, once you get the gSender loaded on your computer, all the settings for the machine are already in the software. You don't have to dive deep into it to change the firmware and the settings, and just a nice little convenience perk. That's what I think is really cool. Anyway, I'm going to show you a really cool tool in the gSender, and then we're going to get taking that 120 degree vbit and ripping out this line really fast. You got to check this out. The other thing is it's got lots of very nice features to it that all the other control softwares don't have. So I'm going to show you one of those cool features in just a little bit. But what we have to do is we have to bring in the Lion head into this so the router will know to run the Lion head. Before I do that, I just want to show you what I've got on the screen. I was making my clamps before. Now clamps, you have to have something to hold your projects down. I'm a huge proponent of not buying clamps, but making your own. You have a machine that can do it, your CNC router. But I guess people aren't aware of that. So what I've done is I've actually put together a video that tells you how to do it, and I've given you the file from you can get it at Etsy, the G-code file. So basically you load and go, and you can cut your own clamps as opposed to paying $50 for 4. You'll have 21 of them. And this is what I'm talking about. I made all these clamps in one shot off of one piece of pine. And that's all I use when I'm not using CA glue to hold my stuff down. CA glue, you want to learn about that if you don't know about that. I'll put a link down below for a video that'll teach you about that. But here's why you want wood clamps. There's two reasons. Number one is inevitably you are going to run into your clamps with your CNC router. And when you do, if you have metal clamps, you are going to break your bit. That's pretty much a guarantee. Now, with the wood clamps that you make, you see how I've got a nice little rounded edge on that one? Well, this one I actually ran into and cut right through it. The router and the router bit didn't even know it was there, and I still got a decent clamp, and I still have a router bit. So that's why I say you have a CNC router. make your own clamps. That's what this machine is capable of. So down below in the description is a link to get this G-code file and the design files. The G-code file, I give it to you, so basically it's a plug and play. And you'll get video instructions with it and written instructions as well. So make your own stuff on your own CNC router, whether it's a Longmill or something else, instead of buying clamps. You buy a set of 4 clamps, it costs you 50 bucks or more. 10 bucks and you've got yourself 21 clamps. It's kind of a hands down gimme, and you'll learn how to work with your CNC router at the same time. There'll be a link down below for that too. Okay, now let's load the Lion up in this software. So I'm simply going to come down to load the file, and we are going to go to the Lion directory, and there it is. So I'm going to double click it, and the software is going to bring it in. And so there is our lion head. And let's just turn this the right way so we can look at it. And this is the carve that we're going to have. Now, keep in mind, this carve itself is 23 inches, side to side and up to down. But one of the things that's really nice in this control software is you can actually run this little tip feature in here to make sure that your project is going to fit in your project area. I don't know if you've ever run a project and the project ended up cutting outside of the project because it wasn't centered right, or you didn't realize that your carve area was bigger than your piece of material that you're working on. So you see this little feature right here, this little button that says outline. What that does is that actually takes your router, puts it up to what they call Z safe height, that it raises the Z up, and then it moves over to position and literally draws straight lines, moves along straight lines that would outline the outermost areas of your project. So what I mean by this is, when you set your project piece in your machine, we're just going to use this one for example. This is actually one I did a video on, walk you through the entire process of how to do design work. I'll put a link down below for that as well. But you have this piece of project material on your machine getting ready to carve this awesome flag with the eagle in it. And you set your 0 point. Let's just say you set your 0 point to the back left corner. What the router will do is it'll start from that position, pull up to a safe Z height. It will not turn the machine on. It'll simply come over and it'll start to trace out the outermost boundaries of your vector. So you have to set your 0 point first, and then you will eyeball your bit path to make sure that your carve is within the project piece area. And as you watch that, you can see if something is going to run off the piece of the material that you're working with. So just say, for example, right up here at the top of the main, if I can get that there, let's just say I accidentally had the material centered or zeroed wrong, so it's zeroed at this first grid line. That would put that main outside the material, and it would ruin the project, especially for such a large piece of project. So I want to explain to you what the outline feature does and why it is such a good tool to have in your CNC router control arsenal, and why I so much love the gSender. Just one of those little things. So let's just start off like this. We have a project area. That's the white square that we're looking at. And this is 24 inches by 24 inches. That's the way we've set it up. And we have our lion head quite large. And it is centered on that project piece. Now, one of the things is when we set up our CNC router, we set up our X and Y 0 point so that the router knows to start from that point. So in this case, I am going from the back left corner. That's not traditional. Traditionally, it's the front left corner. I'm doing that for the sake of this video so that the lion head will get carved and then the router will move out of the way so you can see the whole thing. Let's just pretend I zeroed the router, but I actually zeroed it wrong. Let's just pretend I zeroed it right over here. Or let's pretend that my project piece is too small and that the lion head would, here, let's just draw a rectangle. Let's just say my project piece, I mismeasured it and it's like that. So it's not quite covering the entire lion. bits of the main are hanging out there. The nose is hanging out up there. This outline feature will help us verify that. So what it'll do, it'll move the router to a position that's one of the outermost edges of the project that it's going to cut. So the router bit will come up to, let's get rid of that square. The router bit will come up here to this point right here. So that's the maximum height that the router bit will go across this project. Right about like that. And same with this would be roughly here. And then down here. And over here. Now there's a bunch of lines in between. There's an outline that is being created here. We got another one right to there and to there and to there and to there. These are the outermost boundaries of this project. And so the outline feature is actually going to move the router in position to actually create that outline, just like that I've created. I'm going to actually delete that because I don't want that. And we are going to turn on the layer. The router will actually trace out this outer boundary line like that so that you can physically watch the router bit move around. It will not dive into the material. It'll stay up above at a Z-safe height. But you can eyeball it and run this as many times as you want to make sure that your project is not going to run off the edge of the material that you have set up. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And this is why I'm saying get the gSender software. And it's just so cool that it's optimized for the Longmill when you download it. Now you can change all the settings in it to fit your machine. So you don't have to have a Longmill to use this. So what we're going to do is we are going to simply click this button now, and I'm going to show you how it actually traces out the lines around the lion head. So here we go. I'm clicking it right now.
And there it goes. So what it's doing is it has picked a random place on the lion head outside of it. So it's right over here. And now it is literally drawing lines between the outermost points of that lion head. I was actually concerned about it up there. So I ran it a couple times just to double check it. I could walk around. But look how fast. All it's doing is tracing around the project to make sure that your project can fit inside the workspace or on the project material that you're going to have. And that's it. So that's such a beautiful check that you have in the gSender software. This is why I am one of the reasons I really love the gSender software.
Now we know that our project is inside the material boundaries, which is awesome. So now all we need to do is turn the router on and hit the Start Job button. So with that, we are going to turn the router on, and you are going to be amazed at how fast this router or project is going to go. So let's hit it right now. And we're off. So this is the 120-degree vbit. And you see it actually can cut some very fine lines. This is one of the reasons that I actually replace my 90-degree vbit quite often with this bit. Look how fast it's kind of whipping through some of this stuff. This is where you get to see it start to hog out a lot of material. So I'm pulling back for scale so you can see the project piece relative to the router. Pretty large piece of material there. Oh, I forgot to do something. I forgot to start the stopwatch because I really wanted to get this timing and just truly capture it. So we are at 0 on the stopwatch, and we just hit start and restart the program. So I'm going to speed this first part up since we already saw it. This gets more interesting in just a little bit when you start to see how much material this 120-degree vbit is ripping out on the Longmill CNC router. You know, I really like this machine because the more I push it, I'm still not finding the limits of the machine. This is a fun one where you just see it swirling back and forth through that long part of the lion's mane. There's something about just sitting there watching the machine run. Now I'm cutting MDF, and MDF is a very dusty material. Vacuum up a little bit just so you can see what we're doing. It's also covered with Oramask because I'm going to be painting it. I'll show you that in a little while. I'm wondering if I should just create a video, just letting the whole thing run through. Now you see this dust shoe that I have? I made this. I made it to redirect the down blast that the router creates and to redirect it upward so that I could shoot videos where it's exposed. Otherwise I'd be blowing that stuff all over the place. And just come to mentioning that, with the long mill, one of the comments I get, people say sometimes, they're concerned about the screws being exposed to the sawdust. And I never ever have a problem with that. Isn't that cool? Just watching that stuff. You can make this kind of stuff. This is actually something I want to be able to give to you, the G code for this. Here's where it's going to really hog out some material. Look how fast it's just ripping down into its depth. Now I'm working at the flat depth, right? So it's going back and forth to clean it out at a 50% step over. It's actually not a large step over, but it's working it very fast. I was just saying if I could give you the G code for this file, but as you know, I purchased it, and so I didn't get the permission yet from them. If I have permission, it'll be down below in the description. I am actually waiting for them to answer me. This is where it's kind of fun too. I can sit here all day and watch a machine cut like this, where your projects that you create just come to life. I mean, if you are thinking about a CNC router, you've just got to go for it. I'm a huge proponent of the Longmill CNC. I did a lot of research before I chose this one, and particularly about after the sale. Right? The company has to be there for you. So now we're doing the facial features of the lion. There's the eye. 3 passes and that's done. And then we're getting to the whisker points. Basically they're just little dots, look like freckles. And finally comes that cool, smooth line of the lion's face. Now all this is at 200 inches per minute. And look how fast it just carved out this 10-inch area of the lion to get this outline. And we'll take a look at our clock, and that was 14 minutes. And that was still inefficient. I could have got it down to 10 minutes. Just with a couple of other settings. But there it is, the whole project. You just watch this develop right before your very eyes. And this is something that, you know, if you're like, oh man, I wish I could do that, you can do this. And I teach you how to do this stuff. It is so cool. So it is time to get ready to paint this. So the first thing I do is I have to clean up any burrs inside the lion's mane. So I take the urethane to spray it into the carved areas. Now this time I'm using lacquer, which was a mistake. The first time I used lacquer, don't ever use, experiment on a good project, because you can see what it's doing to the Oramask. It is affecting the Oramask. Fortunately, it didn't affect it here. What I normally use is the polyurethane, the fast drying polyurethane. You can see how the lacquer affected it. So this is what I use. Minwax fast drying polyurethane spray. So now we're going to clean up the burrs inside of the carves, and I use these Dremel sanding burrs. These things are great and they're disposable. You buy a bag of like 40 of them, and they're different grits. So for example, this is the hardest grit, or the smallest grit, I'm not sure, it's just the coarsest one. The green is second to fine. Normally I have the black, but I can't find the bag. Black, this is what the black one looks like. And they do such a great job. And I'm going to use the green one in this one. Now I never use that little wrench that they bring with the Dremels. And these things will last about 10 minutes. You throw them away and put the next one in there. They're great to have. I got a link down below for these things if you want to get them off of Amazon. Very inexpensive, like 10 cents a piece. And so now you just lightly run through each one. You know, you want to be careful because the Oramask, the masking, is something you don't want to cut through or braid through. I'll put a link down below for Oramask if you want to do two-coated projects. Now there's finished versus the not finished, so we're going to work through this. Oramask, I've got several videos on that. I'll put links for that down below, and I'll get links for the Oramask. It's the way I like to do it. So once we're done sanding everything up, we are going to get ready to do our final coat, get all the dust off, do one final check, make sure everything's looking good. And it all looks good. So what I like to use for spray paint is the flat Rustoleum high performance enamel, and it's the fast drying stuff. It dries in 15 minutes, so you can get multiple coats on it in a matter of a couple of hours. Now it dries, but it takes like a day for it to cure. And then this is what happens with the Oramask. So you see why you want to Oramask, and this is like the most rewarding part of doing a project, when you start to peel the Oramask off and your whole project starts to come to life. I mean, if you want to create something, this is the moment that you were doing it for. And this is why CNC routers are so awesome. And I love that I could create something this big on the Longmill. My next video, or a video very soon, will be even a bigger project, but here it is. You can't even tell it's a Vcarve unless you're like looking at it closely. But isn't that sharp? There's still a little bit of cleanup to do on it. You can see there's a little bit of spot right there. You just take mineral spirits and rub that on the spots, and it smooths it all out. But here it is, 99% done. The project that's laying next to it is a video that I created for this particular flag, how to design from the beginning the right way. And the vector for that is on Etsy, so you can get it, and we'll follow that video. I'll have links for all that down below in the description as well. There we go. And that, my friend, is how you take advantage of your larger scale machine. Especially when our machine is a Longmill CNC 30 by 30 like this one. We want bits that will hog out all the material, because we ultimately want to take advantage of the size that the machine can get to for the projects that we can create. So you need to get the bits that are going to take that real estate out of there pretty quickly. That's why I designed the 120-degree little stiffy V-bit the way I did, so it can leave a good finish while it's moving fast. And this project proved that to me. So if you're interested in the 120-degree V-bit, there's a link down below for that. The Longmill CNC router is the machine that I absolutely endorse, and If you are looking for routers and you decide to get that one, then I would ask you to use the link that I have down below. I've got a really deep dive review video on the Longmill for you. The link for that is down below as well. That video will teach you all about CNC routers. Lots of resources down in the description below. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a like, and I'd love to see a comment from you. What did you pick up from this video? And we'll take it from there. I got one more thing. I need your help. So I still have not found the limits of the Longmill CNC router, and I am trying. So I've got a 24-inch by 24-inch project I just completed. This and my eagle flag over there, the sign. I'm going to do the full travel of this machine. I've got a 31 by 33 inch board sitting over there. I want a really complicated design that I am going to be carving on that. So if you've got a nice complicated design, send me a picture, and if yours is the one that I do, I will shoot a video on it and I will talk about you a bit. I'll just mention your name, but I will teach about that whole project and taking advantage of the full space of the machine. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. I hope you have a great day, better tomorrow, and happy CNCing.